सर जरा सर्च करिए कि सर ने ज्वाइन किया है। सर ने ज्वाइन कर लिया है। सर ने एस के अग्रवाल से ज्वाइन किया है। आप इमीडिएट को होस्ट बनाइए। गुड इवनिंग सर, नमस्कार, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग सर।
Good evening, everyone. Ankur,
जी जी, गुड इवनिंग सर।
good evening.
जी सर, 3 to 4 मिनट्स में स्टार्ट करते हैं सर।
No issue. I am available.
ओके
Okay.
ओके ओके, थैंक यू सो मच सर, थैंक यू।
अंकुर जी, गुड इवनिंग।
नमस्कार सर, नमस्कार, गुड इवनिंग, थैंक यू फॉर ज्वाइनिंग सर, थैंक यू।
विश्व दलहन दिवस की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं।
जी आपको भी सर, दलहन दिवस की शुभकामनाएं। मैडम सिंदूरा तुंगला ने भी ज्वाइन कर लिया है ना?
Yeah, I have joined. Yes, I have joined.
ओके, थैंक यू, थैंक यू। मेरे नंदिनी, इस चीज का याद रखना आप कि जो गूगल सीट पे आपके रजिस्ट्रेशन है वो 2000 प्लस रजिस्ट्रेशन हैं अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड, और ज्वाइन किया है 293 कैंडिडेट्स ने। तो इनकी डिटेल आप अपने पास रखना, इन्हीं कैंडिडेट्स को पार्टिसिपेशन सर्टिफिकेट दिया जाएगा, ठीक है?
ओके सर।
किसी भी पार्टिसिपेंट्स को यदि ज्वाइनिंग में कोई प्रॉब्लम है जूम के थ्रू, तो हमारे मॉडरेटर ने लाइव स्ट्रीमिंग भी स्टार्ट कर दी है यूट्यूब के थ्रू, तो आप यूट्यूब से एक्सेस करके आप ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं। लेकिन सभी से रिक्वेस्ट है कि इस कार्यक्रम का हिस्सा जरूर बने, केवल कार्यक्रम को सर्टिफिकेट लेने के लिए ज्वाइन ना करें। कार्यक्रम की गरिमा को देखें, कार्यक्रम से ज्ञानवर्धन करें, कार्यक्रम को जोड़ें, कार्यक्रम से जुड़ें और लाभान्वित हों। इस तरीके के अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम एक साइंटिफिक कम्युनिटी और एकेडमिक गैदरिंग्स के साथ जो कराए जाते हैं, यहाँ नॉलेज डायसेमिनेट होती है, यहाँ हार्डकोर रिसर्च डायसेमिनेट होती है। तो आप लोग इससे लाभान्वित होइए। सर्टिफिकेट तो हम देंगे यदि आप ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं, लेकिन नॉलेज को भी गेन करिए, ये मेरा आग्रह हमेशा रहता है। आई थिंक यूट्यूब को मिला के 400 कैंडिडेट्स ने ज्वाइन कर लिया है। डॉक्टर मिश्रा, मेरी आवाज आपको आ रही है?
जी सर।
जी, विद इन 1 मिनट हम स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, ठीक है?
ओके।
मिश्रा जी, आप प्लीज प्रोसीड करिए।
Okay. Good evening, one and all present over here. This side, Dr. Sonal Mishra, Assistant Professor, CSGM University, Kanpur. Welcome you all in this international webinar on pulses for sustainable food future under climate change. I think Dr. S.K. Agrawal sir has joined. Am I audible, sir? Agrawal
Yes,
sir, am I
yes,
audible?
I can hear
Okay,
you very
thank you.
well.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for giving your valuable time and your kind consent to deliver a lecture on the occasion of this World Pulse Day, sir. And Dr. Sir is currently working as regional coordinator for South Asia and China, ICADA, Lebanon. I also welcome Dr. Sindhura Tungla, ma'am, medical officer, manage Hyderabad, and Dr. C.M. Yadavji, working as a head. KVK Bhilwara, MP UAT, Udaipur, Rajasthan, for joining this international webinar on pulses organized by the Agri Foundation, Bharat. And I want warm welcome to the Dr. Ankur Sharma ji, Assistant Professor, Horticulture and Chief Secretary of Agri Foundation, Bharat, for organizing such a wonderful webinar in collaboration with ICADA, Lebanon, ICAR, KBK Bhilwala, Rajasthan, MPUAT, Udaipur, Rajasthan, and World Agriculture Organization. As we know that today we all gathered here to celebrate the World Pulse Day 2025, and the theme for the World Pulse Day 2025 is Pulses Bringing Diversity to Agri-Food System. And the slogan for this day is Love Pulses for a Healthy Diet and Planet. This celebration aims to highlight the critical role that pulses play in sustainable agriculture, nutrition, and environmental health. As we all know that pulses are not only a rich source of protein, essential nutrient, but also contribute to the soil fertility and productivity. So before starting this mega event, let's seek the blessings of Goddess Ma Saraswati. So I kindly request our admin, Dr. Rohit Ji, to play the Saraswati Vandana. Rohit Ji, please. Rohit Ji?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
रोहित जी वॉइस ऑडिबल नहीं है, वॉइस नहीं आ रही।
Thank you so much, Rohit Ji. So as we know that no meal is complete without pulses, so have them for a better health and warm wishes on World Pulse Day. So before starting the lecture, I request Dr. Sindhura Tungla ma'am, Medical Officer, Manage Hyderabad, kindly proceed the opening remark.
Thank you, Sonal ji. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible, Sonal ji?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am, you
you
are
are.
perfectly audible.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. It is both a privilege and pleasure to welcome you all to this international webinar on pulses for sustainable food future under climate change. Today, as we gather together to celebrate World Pulse Day 2025, we acknowledge the incredible role pulses play in shaping a healthier and more sustainable future for our planet. World Pulse Day, celebrated every year on 10th of February, is a global initiative to recognize the significance of pulses as a vital food source. But today, we go beyond the celebration. We explore how pulses can address some of the most pressing challenges of our time, from climate change to food security and human health. As a clinician, I would like to take a moment to highlight the profound impact pulses have on the human health and well being as well. So, why do we celebrate the World Pulse Day? Just to highlight, I can say maybe 4 points, but our esteemed speakers may talk it more on depths and lengths. So the more important fourth key things that I'm going to talk about are the nutritional facts, food security, economic importance, and the sustainable aspects. So the nutritional thing that I'm going to talk about is more of my thing. So I would like to elaborate and take a few minutes. So the pulses, I would say they are the treasure trove of nutrition. They're rich in protein, fiber, vitamins, minerals, whatnot. It just makes them an essential component of a balanced diet. So, for instance, if I say that if you take 180 grams of lentils would provide the same amount of protein as 100 grams of chicken, what would you say? Before I talk anything, may I ask any of our friends who are non-vegetarians here? Can you raise your hands? Yeah, I could see many hands. Yeah. So I can feel you when I said you may eat 180 grams of lentils instead of 100 grams of chicken. Your heart must says, why do I have to deal with a dull, boring dal if I can eat a delicious chicken, which is also just 100 grams and I can even more, I can even eat 200 grams or even more for some people. So my friends, the downside here is chicken and meat, whatever we are eating, which are all the animal proteins, comes with lots of disadvantages. Rather, let me talk more of a pulses. These, unlike the chicken, pulses come with added advantages. They are cholesterol free, they are low in other fats which are bad for your heart, and they're packed with nutrients, which are all, in another way, they are all high in your animal protein. They have high cholesterols and other bad fat, which eventually will lead to diseases in the long run. Many chronic diseases, not just the heart diseases. So it's just a moment to reconsider all our non-vegetarian friends to think, is it really the only so far we are thinking that probably the pulses are for vegans or the vegetarians, but let's realize it's not for non-vegetarians, it's not for vegetarians. Yes, we still as non-vegetarians can consider pulses as a healthier source of proteins for us rather than taking chicken and meat every now and then. It's not just me who is telling this. Research says, recently I have read certain articles that are published in American Journal. So it says consumption of pulses at right amount can reduce the heart diseases up to 22%, which is a significant amount, 22%. Also, there is another study done by Diabetes UK. I hope a few of us might have dealt with the patients of diabetes sometime in our life, probably with ourselves or with our family members or friends. Probably we are much aware of diabetes, and I think many of us know HbA1c. How many of you are aware of the word HbA1c? Probably the patients or the families are aware of HbA1c. Yeah. I see again some more hands. So, what if I say a regular consumption of pulses will reduce your HbA1c levels by 0.5%? Yes, I said a very low amount. For all those non-diabetic people, they may think 0.5 is very low, very low. But those who are diabetics and those who know what is 0.5% of HbA1c, they can exaggerate it. Probably you guys know that some people are taking sitagliptin tablets or vildagliptin tablets. Whatever this tablet can do over a month is just as same as eating pulses every day. Both are same as reduction of 0.5% of your HbA1c levels. So it's why to go for an artificial tablet option when you have a natural resource. So let's reconsider our food choices with this. And let me go to the second reason why we can celebrate the pulses is the food security. In many developing countries where access to an affordable protein sources like meat is limited, pulses offer an economical and nutritious alternative. They provide a sustainable way to meet the dietary protein needs while ensuring and promoting a healthier lifestyle, actually. And the third reason is economic importance. For many of these developing nations, pulses are not just a source of protein, they are also a source of livelihood for millions of farmers across the globe, not just in India or in developing countries for that matter. By cultivating pulses, these farmers support their families and even contribute to the local economies, making the pulses a cornerstone for the rural development. Last but not the least, in fact, the most important reason is the sustainability. In this era of climate change, pulses are environmentally friendly crop. They require less amount of water when compared with other protein sources, and they also improve the soil fertility. So just by choosing pulses, we are improving and choosing a more sustainable future for ourselves on our planet. Aren't these reasons enough for us to dedicate a day to celebrate the importance of pulses? But our responsibility doesn't end here. As we move forward, I said many things about the clinical and diabetes and whatever. One take home that I can say, I urge each of you to incorporate at least 50 grams of pulses into your daily diet. This is in line with recommendations of WHO nutritional guidelines for a healthier life. Before I conclude, I want to thank you all for joining us today and for your commitment to promoting the value of pulses. Together, we can harness the power of pulses to build a healthier, more sustainable, and equitable world. With that, I wish you all a happy World Pulse Day and I pass on to the esteemed speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for emphasizing the role of pulses in our life and how pulses helpful in treating some diseases like mental health, gut health, obesity, or also in a heart diseases. And also pulses are important in the soil fertility and how it is important in the agriculture. You emphasizes all the point. So thank you so much, ma'am. And now, for which we all have gathered here, there is a protocol in our organization that we give a brief introduction of our speakers to the participants. Although Dr. Agrawal sir is a great personality in the scientific world who needs no introduction, still, I would like to give you a brief introduction of the sir regarding the protocol. So, Shivkumar Agrawal, PhD, is a renowned plant breeder with expertise in resistance breeding, pre-breeding, and development of genetic and genomic resources of legumes, crops. His contribution in developing short duration photoperiod intensive biofortified varieties of legumes is well recognized. During 35 years of professional career, he is in collaboration with national partners contributed to the development of 51 lentils, 5 mung beans, 2 oat beans, 1 rice, and 3 grass pea varieties, and published 310 research articles, 97 book chapters, 12 books, 7 technical bulletins. He is a fellow of Crop Science Society of America, International Legume Society, Indian Society of Genetics and Plant Breeding, and ISPRD. He has received many academic distinctions, fellowships, including Rockefeller and awards from the national and international organizations and societies. Presently, he is leading ICADA's South Asia and China regional program, which aims to deliver climate smart program of legumes and cereals for sustainable intensifications of cereals based crop system. I request you, sir, to deliver your lecture. The forum is yours, sir. Please, sir.
So thank you, Sonal, for your elaborate, introduction. Can you see my slides now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So anyway, first of all, I joined the previous speakers in wishing you a very happy World's Pulse Day. And then we always say that pulses are good for the people and for the planet. So today I will be talking about pulses, more of a general type of introduction, so that you are able to know why we are celebrating World Pulse Day. As you know that I would like to give you a genesis how we started having this World Pulse Day. This UN General Assembly and declared 2016 as the International Pulse Day, International Year of Pulses. And in that, this is the things we develop. This is good for planet, good for people. This is the we created, and that was accepted by the UNO. And because of the great success of this International Year of Pulses, under which we organized one international pulse conference in Morocco, and I was the secretary of that conference. And then we come out with a kind of roadmap how we are going to make pulses more relevant in our diet as well as in our in our agriculture field. Just to maintain that kind of tempo, then in Burkina Faso we believe that let us have this February 10 as the World's Pulse Day every year, because having one year like 2016 as the International Pulse Year, and then we may forget about it. That's how from 2019 onwards we started celebrating this World Pulse Day. I know the very purpose was that if we have to achieve this to our this Sustainable Development Goal of UN by 2013, then of course pulses are going to play a very, very important role, not only in I should say for food security and nutrition security, but also for the environmental health. That is very, very important. As you know that today in a platform near Bhopal, we also celebrated this World's Pulse Day. You can see our scientists celebrating. We invited farmers. We invited some of the different stakeholders. So they were there to see how pulses are important. Then the question comes, why pulses are very important for sustainable food and nutrition security? As you know that, our previous speaker told about the importance of pulses in the human health. It is mainly because of is having more protein, almost 2 to 3 times more protein. Not only protein, but also micronutrients like iron, zinc. They are available, bioavailable, and that becomes very, very important. Some of the pulses like grass pea, it has homoarginine, which is very, very good for your your heart health. So that's how they have become much more popular nowadays in Europe as well as in USA. Now this crop has been included as a part of the bags. They call vision for crops and soil, or I say vision for adapted crops and soils. And then if you see that, as I was mentioning, that pulses are a rich source of protein, almost 2 to 3 times more protein and micronutrients than the cereals. And good part is that if you take, as you know, that in India, we say dal bhat. Dal bhat means if you add this, 1/3 of pulses in our diet, then you can see the kind of, this 8 essential amino acids which are required for the human health. They becomes a kind of imbalance. As a result, what happens that the biological value of the protein it enhances. As that's why we always say that we have to go for that. Second thing is that pulses are also good for the soil health, not only physical health but also biological health, also chemical health. As you know that pulses are legumes, and legume fix atmospheric nitrogen. And many pulses can fix up to 210 kg per hectare nitrogen. And just imagine that this nitrogen coming from the factories, then how much pollution it would have caused. And if you see the residue of the legumes, and then this everything is about the CN ratio. The lower CN ratio is with the legumes as compared to what you see in oilseed in the feed. And that's why we say that legumes should be part of your cropping system, so that we can have a better balance between carbon and nitrogen. Of course, if you know that if we just grow, or if we have 1 kg of legumes and 1 kg of meat, then the 1 kg of meat requires 10 times more water to produce as compared to legumes. That's why for your environment and under the climate change, legumes become very, very, very important. Second things, if I just let you know that pulses, how they are being grown. If you see that about a dozen legumes are being grown in different countries, and then of course we can divide them as a kind of cool season food legumes and then warm season food legumes. Cool season legumes, of course, they are grown in the winter season, and that warm season legumes are grown in the kharif and you can say summer seasons. Area under summer crops as well as the kharif crops is going up, but area under some of the winter legumes like fava bean, field pea, and grass pea, it is going down. But then other crops like lentil and chickpea, area has gone up. But if you see that overall production of the pulses, and if I see in the last 6 decades, the production has almost doubled from I should say from 44 million tons. Today we are harvesting 96 million tons. They are protein rich And that's how, it has happened mainly because of the emphasis which we have given in recent years on pulses. And of course, if you see the production of all pulses has gone up. And it has gone up mainly because the productivity has gone up. And that productivity increase has happened because of the genetic innovations, production innovations, and that is what we are having today. But when it comes to India, still, as you know, that we are producing about 24.5 million tons of pulses in India. We are the largest producer. At the same time, if you see our states, the 5 states, that is in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Uttar Pradesh, they combined almost 80% of the production. Madhya Pradesh, of course, is the largest producing states. So 77% of the pulses are still being grown under rain-fed conditions. And then, of course, if you see chickpea accounts for 50% of the production, followed by pigeon pea, then of course lentil, mung bean, oat bean are also very, very important. So the remaining pulses, they account for less than 9% of the national production. But still, even after making very good progress in the last 10 years, I can say still we are not self-sufficient. If we have to, if we want to close the demand supply gap, I think we must still increase our, pulses production. As you know, that this year we have imported around 4.74 million ton of pulses, mainly lentil, pigeon pea, and black gram. And the government has, given the emphasis that by 2027, we must become self-sufficient. And for that, government has developed a strategy, and that is what we are going to ensure that India by 2027, only 2 years are left to harvest. And that I think I'm very confident that we are going to fill this gap between demand and supply. Of course, if I take, globally, 2 regions are, still deficit in pulses. One is the Middle East and North Africa, where they are still importing 1.7 million tons of pulses every year. And another region is your South Asia, 4.5 million tons of pulses every year they are importing. And if you see the global trade at present, almost 20 million tons of pulses are being traded from one country to the other. So it means it has a very big global market. South Asia is the largest importer of pulses, mainly lentil, pea, pigeon pea, and beans. But there are certain challenges. The challenges are that the climate change. As you know, that every aspect of our life is being impacted by the climate change. And the pulse productivity and farming practice are no exception. As you know that how every year, that in 2022, just because of the rise in temperature, India has experienced almost 5 million tons of reduction in the wheat production. In the Morocco last 5 years, every year there's a drought. And last year they have imported almost 50% of their wheat from other countries. Just because there was, and even this year also there's a drought, and that is going to have a big challenge for the country like Morocco. Then come the soil degradation. Since we have been growing continuously cereal-based cropping system, one crop after the like rice, wheat, and maize, what has happened? The 33% of the global soil has degraded. It means overall the land productivity and the total factor productivity has gone down. It means earlier, if we used to apply 1 kg of fertilizer or any input, whatever if we want to harvest 1 kg of production today, we have to apply more inputs. And that's mainly because of the soil has really become hungry. Soil has become very, very poor in terms of your nutrient, and not only poor in nutrients, even the balance between different nutrient has broken. For example, for a good soil there has to be particular proportion of NPK, but today it has skewed toward nitrogen. It means we are applying more nitrogen just because of that other micronutrients which is there in the soil, but they are not available. They are not available to the plants, mainly because of this disproportionately disturbing the balance. Then comes, of course, there is a technological gap. We have not made that kind of progress as has been made in wheat, rice, and maize, because their productivity has gone up by 4 times. At the same times, in the case of pulses, it is only doubling the case. So it means there is a technological gap, and that gap has to come from our scientists and scientific organizations. Then there are still wide yield gaps, almost 30 to 35% yield gaps are there in the pulses. It means still we are not able to have the right kind of production technology, because even if you have a very very good varieties, they have a genetic potential. As long as we do not have the right kind of production technology, we cannot harvest the genetic potential of those crops. These are some of the major challenges of pulse production. As you know, that the farmers have the perception, that the pulses are having low profitability. As a result, what happens then? They go for low investment at the farm levels. Then there, of course, since they are being grown in the rain-fed areas, they are being grown in the very poor soils. As a result, they are facing frequent drought and waterlogging. Of course, pulses are also affected by number of diseases, and more diseases are root diseases. And when root diseases are there, it means it is affecting the foundation of the plant. If there are foliar diseases, it is much easier to manage as compared to the root disease. That's why you can see that many times if you go to any pulse field, you will find the plant population is not appropriate, just because many of the plants are being knocked down because of the disease like fusion wilt and other dry root rot, collar rot, many. It's a very big complex. As a result, there's a poor crop management. Weeds are rampant, and I always believe that in the pulses, weeds are causing the biggest yield losses, almost 30 to 35%. Poorly adopted varieties. Sometimes we are having a number of varieties, but then only few are there in the seed chain, because you can see that many of the varieties are just being released without having proper kind of market oriented product profiles. Then there is a poor variety replacement. At the same time, there is a low seed replacement rate. You can see some of the yield gaps in crops. There is around 30 to 40% for different crops, and they are not there at the crop level. Even if you see the state level, some states are having much higher yield as compared to the others. So those kind of yield gaps are there, and these yield gaps which exist in pulses, I'm sure that we can fill those gaps by having a better production technology. Of course, so that if we have to fill the demand supply gap of pulses, I think we have to have a strategy. The strategy is how we can make the new genetic gains so that we are able to make the kind of genetic gains which have been made in rice and wheat. Like we can have, doubling the, farmers' income by having the better varieties. As I mentioned, that there are yield gaps, and these yield gaps has to be closed, and we can close by having better crop management. Then there are certain things like horizontal expansion. The rice fallow is there, almost 11 million hectares after rice. It is fallow just because there is not enough soil moisture. Can we think of taking our pulses, short duration pulses, into that region? That is another study. Then of course we can also think in terms of sustainable intensification by growing pulses as intercrop, by growing pulses as a between two main crops. We can go for a very short duration pulse between two main crops. Then there is a scope for reducing post-harvest losses. As you know that pulses are known for having very high post-harvest losses. On 16% yield losses are reported in MENA region. Even in India also, it is reported up to 18 to 20% yield losses. If we are able to reduce those post-harvest losses, I'm sure that that is also going to add a kind of reducing the import of pulses in India. Of course, then there is a scope for value additions. If you see that, Icada is one of the center which is working on a number of legumes, particularly lentil, fava bean, peas, and grass pea. And we were able to reduce, we are able to develop more than 436 varieties, globally. And these varieties are released in around 32 countries. And many countries are having only those varieties which are being developed by ICARDA, particularly Turkey, Morocco, Egypt, Syria, all are released by our national partners selected from the ICARDA material. In India also, we have released a quite number of varieties which are being, grown by the farmers and large scales. In Bangladesh, recent studies, reported that 97% area under the improved varieties of lentil are the one which have emanated from the ICARDA breeding programs. Then, if you see the historical genetic gains which we have made in pulses, more than 4,000 varieties of major pulse crop have been released globally, and out of them, around 1,100 varieties are released in India. The major, what I should say, a kind of impact which we have made is in the development of soil varieties, which are resistant to many diseases, and they are also climate smart. But even after that, we were not able to achieve, the kind of genetic gain which is required. It is at present, it is around 0.6 to 0.8%. If we have to really meet the future demand, we must accelerate our annual genetic gain at the rate of 1.5%. And that has to be achieved more precisely at very, less cost. At the same time, it has to be, achieved very efficiently. And for that, we have to make certain paradigm shift in our breeding programs. For that, four very important paradigm shifts are required. One is that we need not to develop variety just for the sake of having the numbers. We have to see that the varieties which we are developing, they are the market oriented products, so that once these varieties come out in the market is there to accept that variety. For example, if we have a variety which is not suitable for, let us say, Madhya Pradesh, and if we have developed variety of long duration, I'm sure that is not going to work. So for that, other things for that, what we require is the compartmentalization of the breeding activities. Earlier, we used to do all the activities at one level. Today, we have to think who is going to work in the breeding, who is going to work on the pre-breeding, who is going to take care of the crop relatives. So working together, I think that is the way to have a better result-oriented breeding, better varieties. Then earlier we used to take around 10 to 15 years to come out with a variety, because we were having maximum two seasons we were having our breeding cycle. But today, with the speed breeding facilities which we have developed for all the crops, we can complete the life cycle of a crop in 70 days. And it means we can take a 4 to 5 generation per year. It means we can come out with a better variety in 5 to 6 years as compared to what we used to take more than 10 years. And then of course we have made a very good progress in genomics, resources, and that is really helping us to go for genomic selections, and that is increasing the breeding efficiency. As I said, that market-oriented breeding product profile. So we have divided our different market, and that what are the traits which are required for each crop. There is a target product profiles, and now we are working on that, so that once the variety comes into the market, it is being accepted by the farmers as well as the consumers and then different stakeholders. Of course, if we have to develop varieties, what we really require is the germplasm, right kind of germplasm. And that germplasm must be collected, must be conserved, and must be characterized and evaluated. Only then it can be used in our breeding programs. And for that, as you know, that ICARDA is having a global gene bank. And under that, we have around 156,000 accessions, which are collected from the center of origin, as well as from the primary, crop diversity centers. That is your, fertile crescent. From there, we have collected all those things, and these are the numbers for different crops. So then this germplasm, a part of that is precisely phenotyped, genotyped for allelic variation. At the same time, by relatives, that's crop biology, which are very good source of novel alleles, which are required for developing better varieties. We have used them in our breeding programs. Now we have the pre-breeding lines, which can be used in the breeding program by the partners. And of course, these lines are tested in different locations, and we have seen their performance, and they are the one which are doing much better than the variety which were there in the farmer's field. As I was mentioning, now genomic selection has become much more, a kind of integral part of many breeding programs, just because now we have got this, draft genome sequence for most of the crops. As a result, I give you an example of Howin, where we are adopting the genomic selections for heat and drought. And now we have the product which is doing much better as compared to what it used to be through our conventional plant breeding method. Just because we were able to make selection based on the markers which are spread across the genome. Of course, then genome editing is becoming a very, very efficient tools in the hand of the plant breeders. And for that, we are now able to work on this, let us say, grass pea, which is having a plant toxin. But at the same time, this crop is one which is a kind of one of the most, climate smart crop. It can survive the drought. It can survive the waterlogging as well. And under both conditions, it can give some yield as compared to other crops, which succumb either to drought or the waterlogging. So then now through genome editing, we were able to develop grass pea, which is audit free. It is under the under observation. So once the product is available, I'm sure that this is going to be a kind of something for which we should feel proud of. Of course, the target trait is the without biosynthesis, and the target genes are these three genes which are targeting, that's synthase, and these two more genes which are being so. I will give you some of the examples of the success which we have made. One is the short duration lentils. These short and extra short duration varieties, they are mature in 90 to 100 days. As a result, they are able to escape the terminal drought and heat. And they fits very well in the rice and maize-based systems. And under those 100 days, they are able to give 1.5 to 2 tons per hectare grain yield. And some of the varieties now in Bangladesh, which we have released recently, Bari Masood 9, it matures in less than 90 days. These are some of the traits and the variety which are already there, like salinity tolerant PDL1, which has been released by IRI. Then super early, this Pusa Geti, which has come. And then from the crop varieties, two varieties like Jammu Lentil 144 and Jammu Lentil 71. They are also being released. And then Y-fortified varieties, like, these are the variety having almost double of the iron and zinc. For example, they are having 90 ppm iron and more than 55 ppm zinc as compared to the normal variety, which is having less than 55 ppm of iron and 30 to 35 ppm zinc. One example is that early maturing variety of chickpea. This because of this early phenology, it means early flowering, early podding, and early maturity. I think this has become very, very important mechanism to escape the terminal drought and heat in chickpea. And now these varieties, being adopted by the farmers, and that just because of that, what has happened? The chickpea cultivation in India has shifted from North India to central and southern India. You can see the graph, how the area under in central southern India has gone up. 2.1 million hectare earlier in the 60s. Now it is around 6.1 million hectares presently. At the same time, area under chickpea has gone down in north and northeastern India from 4.7 million hectare in 60s to 0.7 million hectare at present. So this is the power of having the right kind of variety with the right kind of phenology. Then, of course, another example is the area expansion under the moonbeam. One can see that how this, just because we have come out with variety like Virat, which is super early, which is period insensitive, just because of that, how the area has gone up, production has gone up, and yield has gone up. And some of the states like Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Gujarat, and Bihar, how area under this movement has gone up just because of having the right kind of variety super early photo period without having yield penalty. That's very, very important. Now, another coming is the machine harvested lentil. As you know that, at present, pulses are being harvested manually. Now, just because of machine harvested chickpeas and mung bean, now the farmers are able to complete harvesting within no time. Within a day, they can harvest the whole field. As a result, the losses which generally used to occur now is avoided. This harvest losses, and that is becoming kind of very important for commercial cultivation of pulses. This is one traits by developing machine harvested pulses, particularly in the case of chickpea and mung bean. Now many large farmers are able to take up chickpea and mung bean in their field so that they can go for machine harvest. The same thing in lentil. Lentil was very poor in terms of the plant type. Just because now we have this machine harvested lentil, and this year we have released one variety in Morocco. Two more varieties are in the pipeline, and now we have shared our machine harvested lentil with national partner in India. Now they are under the observation as an evaluation in different AICRP trials, and I'm sure that soon we are going to have this machine harvested lentils also in farmers' field. Of course, as I mentioned, that beets are a major yield constraint pulses. Very poor competitor, with beets. As a result, they cause up to 30% yield losses. In some of the cases, it can be 100% as well. And no pulse specific post-emergence herbicide are there. And what we did, we identified, some of the varieties, some of the germplas, which can tolerate these herbicides. As a result, now we will have varieties which are not only machine harvested but also able to be herbicide tolerant, so that we are able to spray the chemicals to control the weeds, so that we can avoid the losses which are being caused by the weeds. One of the success story is in Canada is a clear field lentil. Just because it was having this herbicide tolerance, now farmers who are having 10,000 hectares, they cannot go for manual weeding. That the only option available is the control by the herbicides. Of course, as I say, biofortified soils and lentils, we have developed varieties, and you can see some of the varieties in India. Now they are the one which are being ruled in the farmers' fields. And these varieties, as I mentioned, have a very rich in iron and zinc. Heat tolerant, chickpea, as we know that with climate change, heat stress is becoming a very, very common phenomena. And as a result, we have to have variety which can tolerate the heat. And you know that in the case of chickpea, Agri has come out two varieties, JG14 and JG18, of course, with the national partners. And then now these two varieties are ruling in large area in India. We also developed some climate resilient variety and we released in Sudan. And now you can see just because of that, area and production under those varieties is increasing, because farmers do not want to grow a variety which can have a kind of effect of heat. Now you can see that just having heat tolerant flowering variety in Sudan, production has gone up from 40,000 to 150,000 ton at present. Area has increased, productivity has increased. Ascochyta blight resistant chickpea, another very, very important globally. And for that, we have come out with varieties which are having resistance to that. We have been identified some of the QTLs which have been introduced or introduced into our varieties. As a result, now we have the varieties which are Ascochyta blight resistance. In some of the countries like Canada, USA, and Australia, and of course in Sub-Saharan Africa, Ascochyta is a major problem. By having these varieties, I think now we are able to solve the issue. Of course, as I say, crop biologicals are very, very, a great source for abiotic stress tolerance. And then we are able to use this crop biologicals in our breeding programs. As a result, we have much more better varieties, much more better, crop, climate resilient varieties in our farmers field. Of course, in another aspect is the hybrid, varieties. And for that, I think in among pulses, only pigeon pea is one example where ICSAT has made very good, or of course, our national partners in India, they have made very good progress. The first hybrid in the world was ICPH8, which was released in 1991. Area under hybrids is not very much, but still it is around 3,000 hectares. And there's a need for promoting hybrids. And for that, what we need is the public-private partnership. Of course, now we have a better heterotic pools, and what requires is very aggressive efforts. And you can see the variety which had been released in India as far as PNP is concerned. Of course, it is not only about the varieties, not only about the genetic innovations, but also about the sustainable production, so that we are able to, have this demand to delivery, cycle completed. For that, we have to select the right kind of crop. We have to select the right kind of varieties. And once it is done, then we must have the right kind of farming practices. Today, precision farming is becoming kind of, very common practice in many countries. Of course, in India also, government is giving emphasis on this geo-precision agriculture. As a result, we are able to use the optimum, use of the inputs, considered price, and also that's how we are able to increase the productivity. And of course, as I mentioned, post-harvest losses has to be reduced, and for that we have to have a market linkage. And once we have this, demand to delivery, cycle, I think then we can have a kind of economically viable and ecologically sustainable pulse production. Of course, precision farming is very, very important to optimize the inputs and enhancing the incomes. For that, we have to think in terms of smart irrigations, smart fertilization, smart detection of the diseases, which are very common, in pulses. Then we can also think in terms of smart sensing, so that according to the weather pattern, we are able to give a kind of, alert to the farmers that what kind of diseases are going to be there in their field. And then smart advice to the farmers so that they can take the right decision at the right time. Of course, the rice fallows in South Asia is very, very important. A kind of, for horizontal expansion, almost 11.65 million hectare areas there. And of course, you can see different regions, like eastern region of India. It is the, target region, like eastern UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, and West Bengal. So this is the way to, have a kind of, region-based, regional, strategy to go for rice fallow. Then rice fallow intensification pulses, and for that we have developed the real-time mapping and monitoring target site specific intervention. It gives you information about how much soil moisture is there, real time, and how much area between two rice crops is available, or between two crops is available. Based on that, we can decide whether we should go for which varieties, whether we should go for super early variety, whether we should go for early variety, or whether we should go for medium duration variety or late duration variety, based on the soil moisture as well as the, window available for planting. That is what we can decide based on this real time, mapping and monitoring. Of course, there are other opportunities in some countries like, Middle East, and not Middle East, I should say, Turkey and, Syria, where farmers are thinking to go for winter plantings. At present, they are going for spring planted crop, means they go for planting in February and harvest in May and June. But then they are thinking if we can go for planting in the month of November and harvest sometimes in April, as then we can almost double the chickpea production and lentil production. Just because what we require that we must have the variety which are resistant to ascocoid blight. They must are able to have winter hardiness. At the same time, we are able to manage the weeds. Once these three traits are combined together, I think that can really, give a kind of, yield advantage of almost 100%. Means the, yield can go up to 4 tons per hectare as compared to what they are harvesting at 2 tons per hectare at present. And pulses has emerged as a very good, options, as an intercrop with the cereals. Even our forefather used to grow pulses as an intercrop. Even pigeon pea, still you can see many in eastern UP still being grown as an intercrop. And then it is said that if we are going to grow pulses in, as intercrop in cereal fallows, then it can give you almost 38% more yield, 33% more income, and using less than around 23% less yield. This kind of advantage are there, and this is based on a meta-analysis done across the world. It is different countries, and they found that yes, pulses can provide nutritious feed and forage for livestock if we go for this intercrop. Not only forage and feed, but also as a food also. That can be very good option. Of course, for diversification of rice system, what we have to think that we must have super varieties. We can take up our field pea. We can also think in terms of having grass pea, and we can think in terms of having lentil to make this between two rice. This becomes much more sustainable cropping system as compared to what it is called it rice system. Of course, as I say that grass pea is one of the most climate resilient crops. It can give 13 to 15 tons of green fodder. It can give 5 to 8 tons of biological yield. At the same time, it can give 1 to 3 tons of low order grain yield. And that's how it is being grown in many, in country like Bangladesh, almost it's #1 pulse crop. Of course, other agro-technologies like your conservation agriculture, like zero tillage, it is also become very, very important. You can see how the different varieties has performed under this zero tillage after soybean. Some of variety like L4076, it is doing much better than the variety like IPL316 and Pusagen. Then enhancing profitability is also very, very important. And for that, what we have to do is not only reduce the cost of cultivation by mechanization, but also we have to ensure that there is value additions. Now, you know that, how the market is working. Now you see that, if you go to Haldiram, I think, how much, this, chickpea flour, that is besan, is being used in different kind of, sweets and then different kind of namkeens. So that is where we have to go for value addition, and we have to link with the market. That's very, very important. And with this, that if I see the prospect of pulses, and then I think three things are very, very important. One is that we have to increase, this more technological integration. That's very, very important. Now we have made a lot of, advanced technology are available, and that is what we have to integrate them with the pulse cultivation so that we are able to improve efficiency and productivity. Then comes that we have to think in terms of greater, global collaborations. We need not to do ourselves everything. I think what we need is the partnership so that we are able to enhance our knowledge exchange. We are able to share our resources. Resources are always, constrained. If we join hand together, I think that is where we can really make a much more impact in pulses than what we have done in the past. Of course, we have to enhance the sustainability without, and as with a focus on sustainable practice, I think what we need is to drive our initiatives that promote environmental stewardship in farming. With this, I again, wish you all, a happy, World's Pulse Day. And the very purpose of, celebrating World's Pulse Day is to bring awareness among those people. And I know our previous speaker has already said about the importance of pulses in human health. The glycemic index of pulse is much lower than wheat and rice. That's why we say that if you see that, iron zinc, the bioavailability is much more in pulses as compared to what you have. And so overall, if we have to be healthy, not only human health, but also the soil health, I think it should be our mission to ensure that pulses become an integral part of our plate as well as our field. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for briefing the role of pulses in our life in this World Pulse Day. And thank you for highlighting all the points, all the challenges, that how pulses are important in our life, and what kind of challenges farmers can face during the production of pulses and how it can be avoided, and how it is important in sustainable food and nutrition. So you covering all the point very clearly and awareing once again that how pulse is important.
Thank you. I think, if any question is there from the audience, we can always take few questions if it is permitted.
एडमिन महोदय, आप चैट बॉक्स ऑन कर दीजिए। यदि किसी का कोई वैलिड क्वेश्चन इस पर्टिकुलर एस्पेक्ट पे, पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक पे है, तो वो चैट बॉक्स में लिखेगा और आप पढ़ के सर तक उसको पहुंचाएंगे। 5 मिनट एक डाउट क्लियरिंग सेशन रखते हैं। रोहित जी, चैट बॉक्स ऑन कर दीजिए आप।
I can see some of the questions. If you want, I can answer them.
यस प्लीज सर, प्लीज।
I think, one question is about that how we can grow pulses under rain-fed condition. I think for that we have to grow short duration varieties, so that they are able to, uh, they can escape the terminal drought and heat. And moreover, now we have a genetic, innovations, like we have identified certain kind of hotspot within within the genome, and those can be, they can be integrated into our varieties, so that the varieties are not only able to avoid the drought and heat, but at the same time they are able to face the drought. They are not only, so that's become very important. And then we have to take the advantage of the production technology. Like we should go for early planting. We should not, many times what we do, we go for large number of, plant progress, too much, seeds we are putting. So what happens that the, soil moisture, is, it becomes very limited. So what I say that it is not only having better varieties, having, drought tolerance and heat tolerance, but also having, the earliness without having yield penalty, so that they are able to avoid this terminal heat and drought. That is the best strategy. That is what, it is successful. As I mentioned about the super early chickpea varieties, how how, this Central, Asia, Central India and, South India, how chickpea has gone. Chickpea used to be temperate legumes, but today it has become tropical legume, just because having this super early traits in our new varieties. As a result, they are having much better yield than the, variety grown in, northern, states like Punjab, just because they are not able to face the terminal drought and heat. One, question was about, grass pea. Can we can we consume grass pea, having this audit? You know that sometimes we have, taken too seriously about the audit. There were some, instances of having this paralysis when there was a famine, during, Bengal famine. What happens that people have no option but to, because this is the only crop which survived under those conditions. So farmers were taking only grass pea as a breakfast, lunch, dinner. Every time they were taking only. Today we are having diversified, access to, food, diversified food. And today we are not eating grass pea in a large quantity. You know that, even many many health product like ginseng is also having something like ODEP only. But then we are taking only very small quantity. So if grass pea is taken in a very small, or as a pulse, then it is safe. But if we are making, bread also out of grass pea, or we are taking only this only continuously 3 4 years or 3 4 months without having, then there may be one, and then the cases hardly, 0.001% cases have been reported in the past. It's not. Did you see any common any here? No. Many of the scientists they take this one, and as I told you that recently in Europe as well as in USA, now this crop has been highlighted as a as one which must be taken into our system. So I think it is quite safe, but then as I said that you should not make it as a kind of staple food, taking it as a dal, in your diet, and pakoda, other things which is being used. And by the way, all of us are eating grass pea even today. The only thing it is being used as a adulterated in besan and other things. There is a monastery and published in current science. They found that I think 70% of the samples besan, they were having this grass pea besan mixed with. And we know that the grass pea pakoras are much more tastier than the normal. If you go to Bihar and West Bengal, everywhere this is being grown and consumed. So it's safe. So these are the two questions I could see, and then let me see if any more questions are there. Round. Yes, okay, so now I can see quite a good number of questions. Okay. Why World Pulse Day celebrate on 10th Feb? It's a very good question, and even I can say that it so happened that Burkina Faso, I think when they proposed that we should celebrate World Pulse Day, and I cannot see why they selected Feb 10. I think it's a very good question. I will search and maybe we can communicate one to one to see why they have selected February 10. Vegetable chana variety which retains green color, is it remains green always? If if you are harvesting green, as a chola, what you call, I think then they remain green. Yes. Okay. Send the PPT. Okay. No, thank you very much. Okay. Can you please share the PPT? Yes, sure. There's always a constraint of synchronous maturing pulses. Is there mechanical harvesting will be beneficial? Yes, in some of the crops, like in the case of mung bean, there's a very a constraint of synchronous flowering. But as you reduce the this crop phenology or the total maturity period, for example, a variety like Virat and Samrat, when they are grown, they have a very synchronous kind of harvesting or maturity. But if you have a longer duration varieties, then this problem comes, and that sometimes it is, that most of the legumes are indeterminate in growth habit. As a result, what happens that whenever they find the right kind of day length and temperature and moistures, then they again start flowering. So it is there, but then if we reduce this crop duration, then this then the crop becomes much more synchronous in maturity. So this is the only way to develop. We And then of course we can think of developing determinate varieties, which is not very common, which is in some crop like pigeon pea. Now we have this determinate type of varieties, and chickpea also we identified one, but then it is not very popular because of determinate type of varieties. They don't have much plasticity. It means if there is a damage because of the insect pest, and then they are not able to bear the more means new pots will not be there. But if indeterminate, then if there's a damage, then again new flowers comes in and new pots comes in, and so that at least there is some kind of compensation mechanism. Okay, pulses and uric acid excess. I think this is more of a, this medical science people, but yes, some of the people, if you take too much of protein, in general, protein, if you take too much protein, then uric acid, problems comes in. So that's how we have to take in the right, balance, balanced diet, we always say. You need not to, for example, in your plate, we should not have more than 1/3 of the, pulses. If, 2/3 cereal and 1/3 pulses. Once you have that combination, I think that the biological value of protein, as I mentioned about this 8 essential amino acids, that pulses are deficient in sulfur containing amino acids. At the same time, cereals are rich in that. Cereals are poor in lysine, amino acids. At the same time, pulses are rich in that. So once you have this 2/3, cereals and 1/3, pulses, then this 8, essential amino acid combination becomes very, very balanced. As a result, the biological value of protein goes up. Is there any vegetable chickpea varieties? You see, all chickpea varieties, when there is you must have seen chola in the market, green. People, all varieties, desi types are being, used for that. As such, only vegetable varieties, is not there. That, it is very informative. So रेड सॉइल में कौन सी पल्स क्रॉप लगानी चाहिए? I think it's not red or black soil. It is more about how rich your soil is, and then of course how the water holding capacity is there. Once you have that, then of course that color also have a different. We know that red soil has a different kind of composition, nutrient composition as compared to black one. Major issue is about water holding. If it is there, then the crop, if established, I think, for example, pigeon pea, in many places being grown in the red soils. Mungfali, this pigeon, peanuts, they are also being grown in red soils very successfully. So what kind of pulse is there that is good for soil and human health, and is also all pulses without any, and of course, as I say that, any pulse you take, and it is contributing to all the soil health, human health, as well as they are having a better climate resilience. Topic online points of Union Budget 25. Yes, they have talked about the pulses, yes, and they have made a very good allocation for making sure that India is self-sufficient by 2027. How to increase drought tolerance in chickpea for dry land farming, North India, and how to increase the production of rain-dependent farming. I think in my presentation, these things are very clear that, of course, we can, increase drought tolerance by some of the traits, into our varieties, and using new tools and technology that can have a variety which can be more, which can sustain the water stress. So I think, if you see my presentation, this is very clear. In Introduction to Climate Resilience in Pulses, the only way to meet the climate change challenges. See, there are two things. One is the adaptation, and other one is mitigation. Adaptation means we have to adapt to the condition, right? And this climate change is not something which is new. Even if dinosaur has disappeared, thousands of years before, they also disappear mainly because of the climate change, and happens. So, and then if there's a gradual change in climate, then वो हम लोग adjust करते चले जाते हैं. The same is with the crop also. The sudden changes in climate is what worries to me, and that's what is a kind of point of concern for all of us. What are the measures have to be taken for cultivating pulses under dry land? I think this again I cleared before. Thank you very much. what breeding programs can be used in pulses for climate change? Of course, now we have more, better phenotyping, better, use of the markers, in our breeding program. That is what we have to do. And of course, now with the genome editing, I'm sure that we will be able to have varieties which are more climate resilient as compared to what we have through our conventional planting. Which type of chickpea variety are suitable for arid zone? Of course, super early is very, very important. They must have drought, tolerance, heat tolerance. That's very, very important. And generally, under these conditions, desi type will be much better than the Kavli type. Do we get some same amount of protein as previously the crop was having? Because nowadays various fertilizers are used in order to increase the quantity of. See, of course, with climate change, there is a effect on quality of protein. But otherwise, the protein percentage has in fact increased, by breeding program as compared to what it used to be in our previous varieties. There may be a question of the quality of the protein that we have not studied, but quantity, of course, will get affected from climate change. There is always a constraints of synchronous. We have already answered. Wonderful presentation, sir. Okay. Pot settling also is a farm. I fully agree with you. I think it's very, very good point that pot settling is a very serious problem. And if we have to have this machine harvestable lentil, the first thing was that we have made our variety that there's no pot setting, because if when this harvester goes, then the whole plant is second, and then the pots are dropped. So we have and pots are settled. So I think we have taken care of those things. So there are, and it's a very simple traits by the controlled by a single gene and major gene. And the only thing we have to make the breeding efforts to have variety, which empower the plant to not settle the seed pods. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, I think they are all same questions we have already talked about. So I think it is we can always if you want we can send those answers to some of the questions if they are very relevant. Over to you, Sonal and Ankur.
जी जी मिश्रा जी। बाकी यदि पीपीटी को लेके कोई है तो पीपीटी में जो ग्रुप है उसमें सर से आग्रह करके पीपीटी ले लूंगा और पीपीटी आपको भेज दूंगा।
You can share
इसके
those.
बावजूद भी यदि किसी पार्टिसिपेंट्स का कोई डाउट है तो सर इतने हम्बल और पोलाइट हैं कि यदि आपने किसी ईमेल पे उनको कोई बात भेजी है तो ईमेल का भी रिप्लाई वो बहुत अच्छी तरीके से करेंगे आपको। तो मिश्रा जी आप प्लीज कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाएं।
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for answering all the questions by the participants so willingly. Thank you so much. Now, I request to Dr. C.M. Yadav ji to kindly proceed concluding remark and vote of thanks. Dr. Yadav ji.
यादव साहब हैं? हाँ जी। यादव साहब हैं, शायद फोन नहीं कर रहे हैं। यादव जी सुन पा रहे हैं आप हमें सर? हो सकता है कोई तकनीकी, एक सेकंड में बात कर रहा हूं।
यादव सर, आवाज आ रही है आपको? हेलो।
शुरुआत में ज्वाइन किया था उन्होंने।
अभी भी है सर।
हम्म। एक सेकंड में पूछ लेता हूं।
हो गया सर।
जी 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 जी
Yes,
जी बेशब्री से हम आपको सुनना चाह रहे थे। हेड साहब प्लीज।
thank you. Thanks. First of all, sir, I thanks to Dr. S.K. Agarwal, sir. Is a very dynamic and good lecture delivered regarding pulses for sustainable foods, future under climate change. This topic is present time need is humble require for everyone in India and outside of India. The celebration of World Pulses Day is an opportunity to heighten our public awareness of the nutrition benefit of pulses, the contribution in sustainable food system in zero hunger in the world. Pulses have intrinsic value, being packed with nutrition and high protein content, low fat and high fiber, which keep cholesterol and blood sugar under control condition. Not only do they improve the food security and climate economic stability, but they also contribute to climate change mitigation by reducing greenhouse gases, according to United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. Director General pulses play a crucial role in addressing food insecurity and achieving healthy and balanced diet for all point to need to unlock their full potential to progress of sustainable development goals up to 2030 agenda. The year themes of World Pulses Day is nutrition seed for sustainable future, which explain it itself the value of pulses. Despite the global progress that has been achieved in advancing food security and allowing poverty, the number of hunger people in the world continues in grow, reducing the child stunning growth insufficient. Hence, the pandemic has further threatened livelihood by reducing decades progress. In India, the rank 94 out of 107 countries on the Global Hunger Index 2020. It is categorized to serious level of hunger. Out of 144 million stunned growth in 5 children in the world. In India, account 46.6 million. Further, India home to 25.5 million, the 47 wastage under 5 children globally. Hence, the pulses cultivation is require less labor, less expenditure, and less water requirement, and it gives to higher return. Dr. S.K. Agarwal sir is also told to every point to pulses is very clearly, and today the farmers need is highly return to the cultivation of the pulses. The value of pulses extend for beyond the environment benefit. The humble crops know for cost effectiveness, easy storage, and nutrition richness serve as silent features of lives. They lay to ground the food of security and provide essential minerals that are crucial in combating malnutrition related ailments. Dr. Agarwal is also told to pigeon pea for a best example boost to seed cost of 6 times more calcium than milks, presenting and promising avenue to address health issues like osteosis and rickets. In country like India, which calcium deficiency is growing concern, pulses offer a valuable, accessible solution. Hence, the I also concluding remark the World Pulses Day is a very essential day for the everyone, every people to the country. I thanks to Dr. Ankur Sharma ji is leading in this regarding to World Pulse Health Day and celebrate today. The every aspect is clear. Dr. S.K. Agarwal sahab also very great thanks to every aspect clear and regarding pulses. And I thanks to Dr. Sonal madam and I thanks to Agri Meet Foundation team to leading in World Pulses Day and again thanks to uh, give me opportunity for thanks and validate address. And Dr. Ankur Sharma ji, very good day leading in agriculture sector and I also thanks and good evening to all.
थैंक यू सो मच सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आदरणीय अग्रवाल सर के मेरे आह्वान पर, मेरे मेरे निवेदन पर आपने जो है इस लेक्चर का सहर्ष कंसेंट दिया और इसको डिलीवर किया। और आज जो विश्व दलहन दिवस हम मना रहे हैं, इसमें यदि हम बात करें तो आपका सबसे बड़ा योगदान है। आपने अपना पूरा जीवन दलहन के क्षेत्र में लगाया। आप दलहन के क्षेत्र के प्रकांड पंडित हैं, प्रकांड विद्वान हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, मेरे निवेदन पर आपने अपने बेशकीमती समय से निकालकर हमें जो है ज्वाइन किया। साथ ही साथ पार्टिसिपेंट्स को हम बताना चाहेंगे कि 20-21 फरवरी में हम एक इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस प्लान कर रहे हैं। आप लोगों ने काफी डिफरेंट सोशल मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म से देखा होगा पंजाब चैप्टर की। तो 20-21 फरवरी में भी आप इस बड़े अंतर्राष्ट्रीय कॉन्फ्रेंस का हिस्सा बने। साथ ही साथ यूजीसी एचआरडीसी ने हमें आदेशित किया है कि 4 से 5 रिफ्रेशर कोर्सेज फैकल्टी डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम हम कराने जा रहे हैं, तो उसमें भी आप हमारा पार्ट बन सकते हैं। एम्पावरिंग एग्रीकल्चर थ्रू एनईपी 2020, एनईपी पे ज्यादा फोकस किया है। साथ ही साथ 28 फरवरी में सदर्न फेडरल यूनिवर्सिटी, एक सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी है रसिया की, सदर्न फेडरल यूनिवर्सिटी रशिया के साथ हम नेशनल साइंस डे सेलिब्रेट कर रहे हैं। तो इस तरीके के एकेडमिक एक्टिविटीज का आप पार्ट बने रहें। तो पुनः अग्रवाल सर का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। साथ ही साथ जो हमारे कलीग्स थे, जिन लोगों के सपोर्ट से इस तरीके के कार्यक्रम को हम निर्विघ्न रूप से परिसंचालित कर पाते हैं, तो मैं बिंदुवार नाम लेना चाहूंगा। बहीदा मैडम मैनेज से, सिंधुरा मैडम मैनेज से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, सीएम यादव साहब, सोनल मिश्रा जी सीएसजेएमयू कानपुर से, रोहित सी एलपीयू पंजाब से, ऋचा शुक्ला जी स्कारलेट ब्लिंक से, नंदिनी जी एलपीयू पंजाब से, अविनिंद्र सर सीएयू इम्फाल से, प्रोफेसर जसप्रीत सिंह जी पंजाब से, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आप सभी ने मेरे आग्रह पर ज्वाइन किया, सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। सभी को विश्व दलहन दिवस की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। पार्टिसिपेंट से आग्रह है कि जो रजिस्टर्ड पार्टिसिपेंट्स हमारे ग्रुप में जुड़े हैं, विद इन 7 डेज, मैं और कम समय लूंगा, विद इन 7 डेज, क्योंकि व्यस्तताएं विश्वविद्यालय की भी बहुत हैं, एमएससी स्टूडेंट, पीएचडी स्टूडेंट्स की भी बहुत व्यस्तताएं रहती हैं, उनका भी देखना होता है। साथ ही साथ एक कॉन्फ्रेंस हम कर रहे हैं, तो 6-7 दिन का हमने हार्डली समय लिया है। आपका सर्टिफिकेट आप तक पहुंच जाएगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, नमस्कार। सभी
Thank you very
लोग
much.
लेफ्ट कर सकते हैं।
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
you.